Hello everyone, good day. We are the group 4 and today we will be discussing about 21st century, the challenges to the school's division superintendency in strategic and critical thinking. So, I am going to let you meet my members. By the way, I am Rhea Darlene D. Serenio together with Teacher Cheryl, Teacher Ashley, Teacher Mary, and Teacher Jessa, and Teacher June. So today we will be discussing all these topics, but in my case, I will be discussing the challenges of strategic. So without further ado, let's get started. So what is a strategic and critical thinking plan? So what is this? So this is the ability to obtain information and identify key issues and relationships relevant to achieving a long-range goal or vision. So this has a lot of challenges and we are going to talk about it one by one. First, let us define what is this all about. So the role of schools division superintendents or SDS is crucial in ensuring quality education, effective school leadership, and overall improvement of learning outcomes. However, in the 21st century, the SDS faces numerous challenges, particularly in strategic and critical thinking. These challenges arise from the rapid evolution of education policies, technology integration, socioeconomic disparities, and the demand for innovative solutions to improve education quality. This discussion explores the key challenges faced by superintendents and the strategies they can employ to address them. So what are these challenges? First, we have here the rapidly changing educational policies and reforms. Education policies are constantly evolving due to government mandates, global educational trends, and socio-economic factors. Superintendents must, number one, analyze new policies and anticipate their impact on local schools. They should also balance compliance with national standards while addressing local needs, ensure smooth implementation despite resistance from stakeholders. Example, the shift to the K-12 curriculum in many countries, especially here in the Philippines, required superintendents to manage curriculum changes, teacher training, and resource allocation efficiently. So how can we have a response to strategic response? Establish policy research terms to analyze educational trends. We can also develop flexible implementation plans that consider local context, and also strengthen collaboration with government agencies and educators to ensure smooth transitions. So that is the strategic response for number one challenge. Second one is technology integration and digital transformation. The rise of digital learning has created both opportunities and challenges for school leadership. SDS must, number one, ensure schools have access to necessary digital infrastructure and internet connectivity. Should address concerns about cybersecurity, data privacy, and digital literacy. Overcome resistance from traditional educators unfamiliar with digital teaching methods. For example, the COVID-19 pandemic forced a sudden shift to online learning, exposing gaps in school preparedness and digital equity. So strategic response is advocate for government funding to improve ICT infrastructure, or also conduct teacher training on integrating technology in the classroom, or it could be implement cybersecurity policies to protect student data. The third one is the budget constraints and financial management. Limited funding poses a significant challenge in allocating resources efficiently across multiple schools. So SDS must, number one, make data-driven decisions on budget allocation. Should prioritize teacher salaries, school maintenance, and student programs, and seek alternative funding resources such as public and private partnerships and grants. So, for example, some school divisions, they implement income-generating projects like school-run businesses, community programs to supplement government funding. So what could be the strategic response for this? Number one is to implement zero-based budgeting to allocate resources based on actual needs. And it's important to strengthen partnerships with NGOs and the private sector for additional funding. And lastly, train school heads in financial literacy and budget management. Number 4 is addressing learning gaps and educational equity. Superintendents face the challenge of ensuring that all students, regardless of socioeconomic status, receive quality education. The key concerns include: number 1, the learning loss caused by school closures and disrupted learning. Disparities in educational access between urban and rural schools, the shortage of trained teachers, particularly in disadvantaged areas. Like for example, in many regions, students from low-income families struggle with remote learning due to lack of access to devices and stable internet. So, what should be the strategic response? It is to implement learning recovery programs, example, remedial classes, tutoring sessions, or to be deploy mobile learning units and community-based education programs for remote areas, or provide teacher incentives to attract educators to underserved regions. The next one is the stakeholder engagement and conflict resolution. Superintendents must manage relationships with various stakeholders, including teachers, parents, policymakers, and community leaders. The key challenges include: number 1, addressing resistance to change in educational policies, resolving conflicts between teachers and administrators, managing parental concerns over curriculum changes, grading policies, and student welfare. Example: controversies surrounding new curriculum reforms often lead to heated debates between school leaders and parents, requiring SDS to act as mediators. What should be the strategic response? Number 1 is to establish clear communication channels to keep stakeholders informed, organize community consultations and participatory decision-making, and lastly, train school leaders in negotiation and conflict resolution skills. Next is the globalization, the need for 21st century skills. The modern workforce demands graduates with skills beyond academic knowledge. SDS must: 1, ensure that curricula integrate critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity. It's important to promote technical vocational education and lifelong learning programs. And it's also important to address teachers' shortages in specialized subjects like STEM, coding, and AI. So example, countries like Singapore and Finland, they have reformed their educational systems to emphasize competency-based learning and real-world problem solving. So the strategic response here is to encourage schools to adopt project-based learning and interdisciplinary approaches, strengthen career readiness programs in partnership with industries, and invest in teacher upskilling programs for modern subjects like data science and digital literacy. To overcome these challenges, superintendents must develop and apply advanced strategic and critical thinking skills. Number 1, data-driven decision-making. It's important to implement evidence-based policies rather than relying on traditional methods. So number 2, adaptive leadership and innovation. Foster a culture of continuous learning and adaptability among school leaders. It's also important to encourage pilot programs and experimental teaching approaches to test new methods. Number 3, strengthening collaboration and partnerships. So work with government agencies, private sectors, and academic institutions to improve education policies. Promote multi-stakeholder engagement to ensure inclusive decision-making. And number 4 is the capacity building for school leaders and teachers. So provide training workshops on problem solving, leadership, and policy analysis. It's also important to develop a mentorship program to groom future school division leaders. 5 is the crisis management and resilience planning. So develop emergency preparedness plans for crises like pandemics or natural disasters. It's important to implement flexible learning strategies to ensure continuity of education. Now let's talk about how to make a strategic plan. But before, let us know what is a strategic plan all about. A strategic plan is a structured framework that guides the school's division superintendent (SDS) in achieving long-term educational goals. It outlines priorities, resource allocation, and actionable steps to improve education quality. So I will tell you the step-by-step guide to creating a strategic plan. Step 1 is to conduct a situational analysis. So before setting goals, assess the current state of education in the division. What are the strengths? Identify what is working well. Example, strong teacher training programs, high student performance in some areas. Next, identify the weaknesses. Identify challenges, example, lack of technology, high dropout rates, and also identify the opportunities. Look for external factors that can be leveraged. Example, government funding, technology integration. Also identify threats, identify potential risks, example, budget cuts, policy changes, the disasters. And these are the tools that you can use: surveys and feedback from teachers, parents, and students, data analysis of school performance reports, and consultation with education stakeholders. Step 2 is define the vision and mission and core values. A strong strategic plan begins with a clear vision, long-term goal, mission, the purpose, and values, guiding principles. So for example, your vision is to provide inclusive, high-quality education that prepares learners for the 21st century. And now your mission is to lead and support schools in implementing innovative and effective educational programs. So your core values here are excellence, equity, innovation, and accountability. So it's very important for you to identify what are the mission, the vision of our schools, what are the goals, the values that we are going to have in this school. Step 3, set SMART goals and strategic priorities. Define specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals based on the situational analysis. Example, your strategic goals is to improve literacy rates by 15% within 3 years through enhanced reading programs, or provide digital learning access to 100% of schools by 2028, or it could be increased teacher training participation by 30% in 2 years. So you need to have a specific and measurable goals. Next is step 4 is develop action plans for each goal. Now break down each goal into specific actions, responsible persons, and timelines. For example, the strategic goal here is let's say, for example, the strategic goal is to improve literacy. Now your action here is to train teachers in new reading methods. Now, who are the people that, or who are the organization that should be responsible for this? Let's say, for example, the division office. Now next, what is the timeline? So the timeline is, let's say, year 1. Another example is provide reading materials for students. So that is your strategic goals. Now, your the people that are, or the organization that are responsible for this is the school. And what is the timeline? The timeline is year 2. So that is how you break down the goal into specific actions, responsible persons, and the timelines. Next is allocate resources and budget. Ensure proper allocation funding, personnel, and materials to support the plan. So funding sources, the government budgets, the grants, the private partnerships, human resources. So assign roles and responsibilities to school leaders and teachers. So the infrastructure needs, the technology, school buildings, the learning materials. So step six is to implement the plan and monitor progress. So execution is critical. So monitor implementation regularly. So you can assign a monitoring and evaluation team or establish key performance indicators for each goal, or conduct quarterly or annual assessments to track progress. So example, KPI metrics, percent of schools with internet access, increase in national exam pass rates, or it could be teacher training completion rates. Step 7 is to review, adjust, and sustain the plan. A strategic plan is not static. It requires continuous assessment and adjustment. So you have to conduct annual reviews and stakeholders meetings. You also have to adjust goals based on emerging challenges and new opportunities, and ensure sustainability by integrating strategies into the division's annual operating plans. So in conclusion, the school's division superintendency is facing unparalleled challenges in the 21st century. The demand for strategic and critical thinking is higher than ever, as superintendents must direct complex issues related to policy changes, technology integration, budget constraints, learning equity, and globalization. By adopting innovative strategies, data-driven decision-making, and collaborative leadership, superintendents can ensure a more resilient and future-ready education system. So a well-designed strategic plan helps superintendents overcome challenges, allocate resources effectively, and improve education quality. Despite obstacles, a data-driven, collaborative, and adaptable approach ensures successful implementation. So that is for my part. Thank you so much for listening. You may now take the floor, Teacher June.
Good day, everyone, especially to you, Ma'am Lantaka. Before I start, let me introduce myself first. So I am Junteris Basingkol, and I'll be discussing the critical thinking skills of 21st century challenge to the school division superintendency. So now, let us define what is critical thinking. So critical thinking is a process of analyzing, evaluating, and thinking about something. It is what you use through logic to decide whether to believe what someone says or not. You don't just take in the information at face value. Instead, you analyze what the person is saying and assess their argument. For example, if someone tells you it's better to just make students memorize the letters and numbers because they learn faster, without critical thinking, you might simply follow their advice without much thought. However, if you apply critical thinking, you'll question whether this method is truly effective. Is it really better to have students memorize rather than be taught in a more interactive way? Or is there an evidence proving that memorization leads to better learning? That's how critical thinking works. You first examine and truly think about whether what was said is correct. You don't just follow what someone says right away. Instead, you assess if it will truly benefit the students. So next is the importance of critical thinking in 21st century. And so it's relevant in solving problems, navigating complexities, and adapting to rapid change. That's why critical thinking is important. It's not just an optional skill, but a necessity. It helps you understand complex situations and solve problems and adapt to various changes. It ensures that we don't just blindly believe any information we encounter, but instead we learn to evaluate, analyze, and question based on facts and evidence. So this is especially important in early childhood education because critical thinking skills should be fostered from a young age. Children need to develop these skills early so they learn how to think, make decisions, and solve problems. That's why, as early as possible, they should be exposed to activities that encourage critical thinking, helping them build a strong foundation for reasoning and problem solving. So now let's proceed to the next slide. So why is critical thinking a 21st century challenge? Because the world is constantly changing and new challenges continue to arise, critical thinking is not just an ordinary skill, but it's essential for navigating these complexities. However, many factors make it difficult for us to think critically. And these are the first one is the complex educational policies. Education policies and laws are constantly changing, with many factors to consider to address the needs of students, teachers, and school administrators. This means that there is no fixed system in education. It is always evolving and must be evaluated to determine its effectiveness for everyone. That's why critical thinking is important because it helps ensure we don't just blindly follow policies without assessing whether they truly work for all. And example for this is if a new curriculum requires students to learn using gadgets but some parents cannot afford to buy them, a teacher must think critically about how to adjust the lessons to accommodate all students. Instead of relying solely on gadgets, the teacher can find an alternative method such as using hands-on materials or printed resources to ensure that every student can still learn effectively. So next is advancement in technology. So advancement in technology means that as a new technologies like AI and online learning platforms become available, schools and teachers need to integrate them into the education system. The challenge is ensuring that all students have equal access to these tools. Some students may have fast internet and personal gadgets while others may not even have electricity or a stable internet connection. So, for example, if a school introduces tablets for interactive learning in preschool, some students may not have a tablet at home. To ensure equal access, the teacher can balance tablet use in school with offline activities like printed worksheets and hands-on materials. This way, students without gadgets at home won't be left behind and still and can still engage in meaningful learning experiences. So next is equity and inclusion. So equity and inclusion in today's world, not all students have the same circumstances. Some lack access to quality education due to their socioeconomic or cultural background. That's why it's important to ensure that critical thinking skills are taught to everyone, not just to privileged students. So, for example, when teaching critical thinking in a classroom, educators should not focus only on students who can afford expensive resources, but instead, they should include those who do not have access to costly materials. Teachers can use low cost and accessible learning materials such as recycled items, storytellings, and hands-on activities. These help all students to develop critical thinking regardless of their background. And lastly, the navigating misinformation. So navigating misinformation is so navigating misinformation means that dealing with the spread of fake news and misleading information about education, which can create misunderstanding or incorrect belief about how children learns best. So the challenge is helping both students and parents recognize what is true and what is not, so they can make informed decision about learning. So for example, if parents believe that children should only memorize things to learn and don't need to play, they might be hesitant to use play-based learning strategies. They may think that play is not important or effective for learning, even though research shows that play is crucial for a child's development because it helps build social skills, problem solving abilities, and creativity. In this case, the teacher's challenge is to correct this misconception. They need to use evidence based information to explain to parents that play based learning is not just beneficial but also essential for young children's learning and growth. So, next is the role of the superintendent in critical thinking. So, a superintendent plays a crucial role in shaping the direction of education in a school district because their job involves not just managing schools but also setting the tone for how important skills like critical thinking are prioritized and developed within the education system. So, these are the roles of superintendent in critical thinking. First is the strategic leadership. So strategic leadership means as the leader of school district, the superintendent sets the long-term vision and goals for education. If critical thinking is prioritized, the superintendent ensures that it's not just an afterthought but a fundamental skill integrated into every aspect of learning. So, for example, the superintendent may establish a district-wide goal that focuses on teaching problem-solving skills and critical thinking skills. From the very beginning of a child's education, starting in preschool, and the superintendent could promote the idea that all kindergarten classrooms should encourage inquiry-based learning where students explore and ask questions about the world around them instead of just memorizing facts. So next is the policy implementation. So the policy implementation means that the superintendent role also includes creating policies that support critical thinking in the curriculum. This means that developing strategies, guidelines, and rules that ensure critical thinking is taught and nurtured in all subjects and all levels of education. So, for example, the superintendent might implement a policy requiring that preschool teachers use open ended questions to engage children in thinking critically about what they learn instead of simply saying, "This is a red apple." The teacher could ask, "What do you think will happen if we put the red apple in the sunlight?" And they may also develop professional development programs to help early childhood educators learn the best practices for fostering critical thinking in young children. Next is the resource management. So, resource management means that to promote critical thinking, resources such as time, money, and materials need to be wisely allocated. The superintendent ensures that schools have what they need to support programs that develop critical thinking, from training teachers to purchasing learning materials that promote creativity and problem solving. An example for this is the superintendent might allocate funds for purchasing educational toys, puzzles, and learning kits that encourage exploration, critical thinking, and decision making. They could support the purchase of building blocks that allow children to create and test their own ideas, helping them think critically about cause and effect. So the superintendent might also allocate resources to teacher training so that preschool educators are equipped with the tools to help children ask questions, evaluate answers, and make informed decisions. Next is the technology integration. So technology integration means that the superintendent is responsible for ensuring that technology is effective integrated into the educational process. This involves selecting technology that can enhance critical thinking while also considering the ethical implication of using certain tools, especially with young children. Example, the superintendent might choose to implement interactive learning apps for young children that encourage problem solving and creativity. For example, an app that allow children to complete puzzle or build virtual structures. This can improve or foster the critical thinking skills as they solve challenges and make decisions. However, the superintendent would also ensure that screen time is balanced with hands-on and non-digital activities. So to prevent cover reliance on technology, they might establish guidelines on the appropriate use of technology, making sure it's used as a tool for enhancing critical thinking rather than replacing face-to-face interaction or physical play. Next is the challenges in fostering critical thinking. So the first one is time constraint. So time constraint means that standardized testing often takes precedence over critical thinking activities. This means that many educational systems are highly focused on standardized testing to assess students' performance. As a result, teachers often feel pressured to prioritize test preparation, leaving less time for activities that encourage critical thinking and creative exploration. So, an example for time constraint is instead of allowing children time to build their own structures with blocks and discuss why they did it in a certain way, teachers might focus on a worksheet asking them to identify shapes or colors because these can be easily assessed. So next is teacher training. So teacher training address the lack of professional development for teaching critical thinking. In many cases, teachers have not received sufficient training on how to effectively teach critical thinking. Teachers' training programs often focus on teaching basic content but may not provide enough strategies or techniques for helping students to think critically. Without the right professional development, teachers may struggle to introduce activities that foster analysis, evaluation, and creative problem solving skills. So, an example for this is many early childhood teachers are trained to focus on basic content like numbers and letters, but may lack professional development in fostering critical thinking. Example, a teacher might ask simple questions like, what color is this? Rather than open-ended questions like, why do you think the sky is blue? Without the proper training, teachers may struggle to incorporate activities that encourage children to analyze, evaluate, and problem solve. This limits the opportunities for children to develop critical thinking skills. Next is the resource availability. So, resource availability, limited access to materials and technology that supports critical thinking initiatives. This means that to encourage critical thinking, students need to access to resources such as educational materials, interactive tools, and technologies that can spark curiosity and allow them to explore and experiment. In some schools, limited budgets and resources may restrict access to these essential tools, making it difficult for teachers to create an environment that promotes critical thinking. Without these resources, students may not have the opportunities to engage in hands-on and inquiry-based learning that develops their thinking skills. So, for example, in early childhood education, limited access to resources like puzzle, building blocks, or educational apps can hinder critical thinking. Without these tools, children miss out on hands-on activities that promote exploration and problem solving. Teachers also struggle to create an environment that encourage inquiry-based learning. As a result, children's opportunities to develop critical thinking skills are reduced. So next is the parental expectation. So parental expectations is overcoming resistance from parents who favor traditional teaching methods. So parental expectation indicates that many parents are accustomed to traditional teaching methods such as memorization and rote learning. These parents may expect their children to focus on memorizing facts rather than engaging in creative or critical thinking. As a result, teachers might face resistance when introducing methods like inquiry based learning or play based activities, which encourage children to think critically and solve problems. This resistance can make it harder to implement new teaching strategies that foster critical thinking skills. So, for example, in early childhood education, a parent might prefer that their child focus on memorizing the alphabet or numbers instead of engaging them in play based learning. Like building with blocks, the parent might not see the value in these activities, viewing them as less important than rote memorization. This resistance can make it harder for teachers to implement teaching methods that encourage critical thinking and creativity. So, in conclusion, critical thinking represents both challenge and an opportunities for school division superintendent in the 21st century. By fostering these skills, superintendents can ensure that students are prepared to thrive in a complex, rapidly changing world. Their leadership is pivotal in shaping adaptable, inclusive, and forward-thinking educational system. So that's all for my part, and now let us proceed to the linkaging and networking for productive partners, which will be discussed by teacher Cheryl. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Cheryl Anavendaño, and today I will be discussing about linkaging and networking for productive partnership. So, what are linkages? Linkages refer to the formal or informal connections between organizations, businesses, or individuals that collaborate to achieve shared goals. So these linkages help in resource sharing, knowledge exchange, and joint problem solving. So linkages are characterized by formal collaborations, agreements, or partnerships between a school and other organizations, like for example, businesses, government agencies, and nonprofits. So what are linkages in the context of schools? So linkages refer to formal or informal partnerships, collaborations, and connections that educational institutions establish with external organizations, institutions, or communities. So these linkages help schools improve education quality, provide students with more learning opportunities, and support faculty development.
So they can involve partnerships with government agencies, private companies, non-government organizations or the NGOs, and universities and international institutions to enhance academic programs, researches, community service, and student development. So for example, a school may have a linkage with a local company to offer internships for students or partnership with an international university for student exchange programs. So in CNU, as we all know that CNU has a lot of partnerships. Like for example, like what our teachers say that during our internships, we are given an opportunity or chance to have an internship outside the country. So for example, in Vietnam, Singapore. So that is an example of linkages between school and other universities. What is networking? So networking is the process of building and maintaining relationships with people, businesses, or organizations to exchange information, resources, and opportunities. So networking involves building relationships with individuals or organizations both within and outside the school community to foster collaboration, share knowledge, and access resources. Networking is often informal, relying on personal connections and mutual interest rather than formal agreements. It is commonly used for professional growth, career advancement, connections, business development, and social. So, what is networking in the context of schools? Networking refers to the process of building and maintaining relationships among students, teachers, staffs, parents, and external organizations to improve education, share resources, and create opportunities for growth. It also fosters collaboration, knowledge exchange, and support within the school community and beyond. So, in conclusion, in a school context, linkages are formal, often contractual partnerships or collaborations between the school and other organizations or institutions. On the other hand, networking involves building and maintaining relationships for mutual benefit and resource sharing, often without formal agreements, like, for example, a school principal who attends education conferences and connects with other school leaders is engaging in networking. Likewise, a teacher who joins online forums for professional development is expanding their educational network. What are the common national networking and linkages in the Philippines? Networking and linkages plays a crucial role in improving collaboration and communication among different organizations, institutions, and agencies in the Philippines. These networks and linkages can be classified into professional organizations and government agencies that work together to enhance education, literacy, and professional development. So first is PAFTE, or the Philippine Association for Teacher Education. It is a national organization that brings together educators, teacher training institutions, and other stakeholders in the field of education. It promotes the continuous professional development of teachers, and it also enhances the quality of teacher education programs across different institutions. It also facilitates research, seminars, and conferences to improve teaching and learning strategies. So it advocates for high standards in teacher licensure and accreditation. So PAFTE plays a significant role in shaping teacher education policies and curriculum reforms, ensuring that the training profession maintains high standards across the country. So next we have the State Universities and Colleges Teachers Educators Association, or the SUCTEA, is an organization that reunites teachers educators from state universities and colleges, or SUCs, across the Philippines. So it strengthens collaboration and partnerships among SUCs in the field of teacher education. It provides a platform for sharing best practices, teaching methodologies, and research innovations. It supports faculty development programs, including scholarships and training opportunities. It engages in policy advocacy to improve education in state-run institutions. So it works with government agencies like CHED and DepEd to ensure alignment with national education goals. So SUCTEA or SUCTEA helps improve the quality of education in public higher education institutions by creating strong networks among educators and administrators. So next is Federation of Accrediting Agencies of the Philippines or FAAP is an umbrella organization that oversees quality assurance and accreditation processes in higher education institutions. It ensures that colleges and universities meet high quality standards in education, research, and community engagement. It grants formal accreditation status to programs and institutions through recognized accrediting agencies. It works with government agencies like CHED and PRC to uphold education policies. It encourages institutions to pursue continuous improvement and global competitiveness. So the FAAP plays a key role in ensuring that higher education institutions maintain quality standards and continuously improve their programs. Next is the Literacy Coordinating Council or the LCC. It is a government agency under the Department of Education or DepEd that focuses on promoting literacy programs across the country. It develops or implements national literacy policies and programs. It also coordinates with local government units or LGUs and NGOs and private organizations to improve literacy efforts. It conducts research and data collection on literacy rates and learning outcomes. It provides funding and technical assistance for community-based literacy programs, recognizes and supports outstanding literacy initiatives through the National Literacy Awards. So the LCC plays a vital role in addressing illiteracy and promoting lifelong learning in the Philippines, particularly in marginalized and rural communities. So to continue the discussion, I'm passing the floor now to Teacher Ashley Faye. Teacher, you may now have the floor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Teacher Cheryl. So to continue, the next is DOST, the Department of Science and Technology. It supports undergraduate and graduate scholarship programs in science and math in the regional science teaching centers, which were selected centers of excellence by the technical band for teacher education. It plays a vital role in strengthening science and mathematics education in the Philippines by providing scholarship programs, research grants, and teacher training opportunities. So through its collaboration with regional science teaching centers, which are designated as centers of excellence by the technical panel for the teacher education, DOST ensures that both students and educators receive high quality training and education in these critical fields. And the next one is CHED. The Commission Higher Education organizes technical panels for all professions, selects institutions as centers of excellence in their chosen fields, and regularly benchmarks the curricula for all degrees with international standards. So it sets academic standards and recognizes centers of excellence and aligns curriculum with international benchmarks. Through its networking and linkages with higher education institutions, CHED ensures that schools and universities maintain high quality instruction, research, and community engagement. And through its partnerships with international academic institutions, schools in the Philippines could also gain opportunities for students in exchange programs and faculty training and collaborative research initiatives. Next one is TEC, the Teacher Education Council of DepEd. It focuses its programs on teacher education policies and standards. So DEC helps align teacher education policies and standards to meet the evolving needs of both educators and the students. And by collaborating with CHED, DEC ensures that teacher training programs in higher education institutions are in line with DepEd's curriculum and teaching standards, and they produce well-prepared and competent teachers for the country's basic education system. And the last one is DOH. Department of Health aims to strengthen school health and nutrition programs. So through this partnership with DOH, school gain access to medical services, vaccination programs, health education campaigns, and nutrition initiatives that promote the overall well-being of the students. So these programs are crucial in ensuring that children are physically healthy, mentally alert, and ready to learn, which directly impacts their academic performance and personal development. So, the next one is, why are linkages and networking important? So, building strong linkages and networking in education is essential for enhancing learning opportunities, improving teaching methods, and preparing students for future success. So, schools that actively engage with other institutions, businesses, and community organizations gain access to valuable resources and opportunities that can lead to productive partnerships. So, the first one that we will be talking about is sharing resources. So, schools that build strong relationships with other institutions, businesses, and the community gain access to additional resources like scholarships, workshops, and learning materials. So, when schools establish connections with other organizations, they can access additional materials um, such as educational workshops and other learning tools. So, this exchange allows teachers to learn from best practices used in other institutions, like for improving their teaching methods. An example for this is when a school is partnering with a technology company, they might receive access to updated digital learning platforms, helping students stay ahead in their education. And another example would be when an early childhood center collaborates with a children's book publishing company. So they might receive free books for its reading programs, promoting early literacy development. And also, partnerships with health organizations can provide access to nutrition programs and child development workshops that ensures that young learners receive proper care and support. And the next one is form alliance or collaboration. So schools that link with local businesses and community organizations create service learning opportunities and social impact projects. So forming alliance and collaborations with local businesses and community groups also creates opportunities for students to engage ser- in service learning projects. This service learning project means that it integrates reflection and structured learning objectives, ensuring that the students gain both practical experience and a deeper understanding of the societal issues. And social impact initiatives, which means that it creates long-term positive changes in the community. So these initiatives often address issues such as poverty, education, health, and sustainability. So these two, with the partnership, allow students to apply their knowledge in real-world settings while contributing positively to the society. So, for example, a school that collaborates with an environmental organization might involve students and young learners in tree planting and recycling projects, so helping them develop environmental awareness and leadership skills. So this forming of alliance and collaboration allows our learners to be aware of the environment, and they are also developing their leadership skills that could also help them in the future. And next is new opportunities. So networking with professionals and alumni helps students with internships, mentorships, and future job placement. So by connecting with professionals and alumni, students gain access to internships, mentorship programs, and job placements that can significantly impact their career path. So, for example, a school with a strong alumni network can help graduating students secure internships in the companies or jobs, giving them a head start in their professional lives. And another thing is in a early childhood center that they connect with experienced educators from other institutions and discover new play-based learning approaches and other teaching approaches that could enhance the cognitive and social development of the learners. Also, partnerships with early childhood development specialists can lead to specialized training for teachers that could help them improve their ability to support children with diverse learning needs. And the next one is develop skills. So partnerships with companies and organizations provide students with real world experiences through training programs and extracurricular activities. So schools that work with companies and organizations provide students with hands-on training, extracurricular activities, and industry exposure that enhances their practical knowledge. So a partnership with a business, for example, might offer students the chance to participate in entrepreneurship workshops that prepares them for future careers as business leaders. So another thing is when the school is collaborating with a local science museum, might provide preschoolers with interactive exhibits and guided experiments that could encourage curiosity and problem solving skills to the children. And also, a partnership with, for example, a music academy could introduce a students with the rhythm and movement activities that promote fine motor skills and self-expressions. And this also can help children develop their like their fun and engaging way in interacting with others and in learning. That also could help them prepare for future academic success. So, we can't deny that even if these linkages and networks bring benefit to schools, there are still challenges that both the school and their partners are about to face. And so the next will be what are the challenges in establishing those linkages and networking? So the first one is lack of awareness and initiative. So many schools may not recognize the value of forming external partnerships or lack the initiative to reach out to potential collaborators. So without a clear understanding of the benefits of school leaders may not be um, actively seek out connections with businesses, community organizations, or other institutions. Also, some educators and administrators may be unaware of existing networking opportunities such as local government programs, nonprofit initiatives, or corporate sponsorships that could provide resources for students and teachers. There are also potential partners that lack the initiative to reach out and build relationships that could prevent these linkages from developing. So some schools may also hesitate to approach organizations due to the fear of rejection, uncertainty about the process, or lack of confidence in maintaining long-term collaboration. And without productive leadership and strategic planning, I'm so dead. Where am I? Develop skills. Clack, clack. So now, we can't deny that even if these linkages and networks bring benefit to school, there are also challenges both the school and their partners are facing. I will be facing. So, what are the challenges in establishing these linkages and networking? So the first one is lack of awareness and initiative. So many schools may not recognize the value of forming external partnerships or lack the initiative to reach out to potential collaborators. So without a clear understanding of the benefits, school leaders may not actively seek out connection with businesses, community organizations, or any other institutions. There are also times where some educators and administrators may be unaware of any existing networking opportunities, such as local government programs, nonprofit initiatives, or corporate sponsorships that could help provide resources for students and teachers and the school. And there are also when there are potential partners that are available, but because they have they lack the initiative to reach out and build relationships, it can prevent these linkages or like the collaboration from happening. And there are also times where the schools may hesitate to approach organizations due to the fear of rejection, uncertainty about the process, or lack of confidence in maintaining long term collaborations. And without proactive leadership and strategic planning, valuable partnership opportunities may not be reached. That may lead to the limiting access of additional funding, training, and educational resources. The next is limited financial and human resources. So, establishing and maintaining strong linkages often require financial investments and dedicated personnel to manage relationships. So, um, some schools, especially those with limited funding, may struggle to allocate resources for networking activities such as hosting events or programs, attending conferences, or organizing collaborative programs. And this financial constraint can limit their ability to engage in meaningful collaborations that could provide valuable resources and opportunities for the students and educators. So schools may also struggle with insufficient personnel to manage these partnerships effectively because, as we all know, networking requires continuous communication, coordination, and follow up with the partners, so which can be very overwhelming for administrators and teachers who already have very demanding or very many workloads. So without staffs that are responsible for handling these partnerships, it may weaken over time due to the lack of proper engagement and management with the staff and the partners. And also, schools that do not have specific personnels may find it difficult to sustain long term collaboration. Next is difference in goals and expectations. So schools and external partners like businesses, organizations, and government agencies may have different objectives, making it challenging to align their goals. So an example could be when a local business might be more focused on branding and marketing, while the school's primary concern is improving student learning. So this when this collaboration expectations are not clearly defined, misunderstandings or conflicts may arise, and it could potentially weaken or like slow down the partnership with this specific local business or any linkages. And also, conflicts may occur when partners have different measures of success. So, for example, a business may expect immediate returns on its investments, such as increased customer engagement, while the school would only focus on prioritizing the long-term educational impact that takes time to manifest. And also, without clear agreements, shared goals, and ongoing communication, these partnerships may weaken or dissolve due to the frustration and the unmet expectations from the schools and their partners. Next is resistance to change and bureaucratic barriers. So, some school administrators, teachers, and stakeholders may resist new partnerships due to the fear of change, additional workload, or loss of control over school policies. So, school may encounter bureaucratic obstacles such as strict regulations, lengthy approval processes, and administrative that shows down the establishing of the linkages. So they are hesitant to engage in new partnerships due to the concern of um, having new or many school policy responsibilities that they will be facing. And for example, teacher, for instance, may worry that the partnership will introduce them to new requirements or that will be added to their heavy workloads already. Leaders may be concerned about how external involvement could influence decision-making processes. So, their decision making will be affected because of these partnerships um, that may because of these partnerships that will collide with their decisions. And schools often face bureaucratic challenges that also slow down or complicate partnership development. So it is because many educational institutions operate under strict regulations and policies requiring long approval processes and other requirements of administrative procedures before they form a collaboration. So these bureaucratic challenges can delay partnerships and discourage potential collaborators that makes it difficult for schools to act on valuable networking opportunities. And the next one is communication and coordination issues. So, poor communication can lead to misunderstandings, lack of engagement, or inefficient implementation of programs. So, effective networking relies on clear and consistent communication between schools, external partners, and stakeholders. However, when communication is weak or unstructured, misunderstanding can arise, leading to confusion, lack of engagement, or poorly implemented programs. Also, maintaining strong partnerships requires continuous dialogue and active relationship management. So, without regular meetings, progress updates, and shared decision making, partnerships can lose and may weaken as the time goes by and eventually might become inactive because of it. And lastly is sustainability and long-term commitment. So some partnerships may start strong but lose the flow over time due to the changing priorities, leadership enhancement, or financial constraints. So to sustain these linkages, schools and their partners must establish clear agreements, structure long-term plans, and ongoing communication to ensure continuity of the partnership. So without a defined strategy for maintaining partnerships, schools may experience inconsistent support, leading to missed opportunities for students and educators. Also, financial constraints can make it difficult to handle anything that is related to funding collaborative programs over time. So, um, you have they have to have a external funding sources, and if it is not there's no it is not sustained, these external funding sources may diminish or they will be gone. So now that we have identified the challenges, let us now know what are the strategies to address those challenges in order to have an effective linkages and networking for schools. So what are the strategies for effective linkages and networking? So first, identify common goals and mutual benefits. So schools and external partners should establish shared objectives that align with their vision and mission. So when both parties work toward a common goal, collaboration becomes more meaningful and productive. This means that the mutual benefit encourages long-term commitment and fosters a relationship where both sides actively contribute to the success of the partnerships. Next is develop clear agreements and expectations. So formal agreements or contracts help define roles, responsibilities, and expectations to avoid misunderstanding and conflict. So without a clear agreement, miscommunication may arise, leading to unmet expectation or disengagement from both the school and their partners. So that's why by clearly defining expectation from schools and their partners, it can build a foundation of trust, accountability, and also long-term cooperation that could benefit the collaboration. So a way that this could happen is through formal documents, regular discussions, and progress reviews should be conducted to ensure that both sides remain aligned with their commitments in the school and the organization. Next is establish strong communication channels. So, regular meetings, progress updates, and designated points of contact ensure that all stakeholders stay informed and engaged. So, clear and consistent communication is essential for building and maintaining successful partnerships between schools and external organizations. So, without these strong communication channels, misunderstanding can arise and the progress may be slow, and the engagement with the stakeholders and the school may also slow down or stop. So to ensure that both the schools and the partner remain informed, engaged, and aligned with their shared goals, schools should establish regular meetings, progress updates, and a designated person to be conducted so that um, the flow of the collaboration and the one who facilitate can have a smooth coordination and collaboration. Next is build trust and long-term relationships. So partnership should not only be transactional but also be based on trust and mutual respect. So schools should consistently show appreciation for their partner's contribution and also nurture the long-term collaboration with their partners. So trust is very essential because it encourages open collaboration, strengthening engagement, and ensures that both parties remain dedicated to their shared goals. So by fostering a cultural appreciation and cooperation, schools can develop meaningful, long lasting relationships that could benefit the students, the educators, the school, and the broader community. And having strong partnerships that are built on trust, they are more likely to remain active, to evolve or improve over time, that could lead to greater opportunities for educational growth and development of both the teachers and the students and even the school and the community. Next is secure financial and human resources. So sustainable linkages require adequate funding and personnel. So for partnerships to last long, schools must ensure that they have sufficient financial and human resources to sustain collaborative programs. So schools often require funding for events, training sessions, and project implementations, as well as um, persons or personnel that should be there to coordinate with the efforts of the partner. So without proper financial sources and staff, even those things that I mentioned earlier cannot be handled well and cannot remain active and impactful. So to address these financial constraints, schools can explore grants, sponsorships, government funding opportunities, so that so that it will support the things or the programs or the events that the schools and the partners may need. Also, if they will assign specific staff members, teams, or personnel to manage these partnerships, it could ensure that the communication will remain clear, the goals are met, and the collaboration remains strong because there is really a person assigned to that specific area that that person could really focus on it. Next is ensure flexibility and adaptability. So partnership should be responsive to the changing needs. So schools and partners must be open to adjusting strategies and redefining goals to remain relevant and effective in the industry. So the needs of students, educators, and organizations, as we all know, change over time. So requiring adjustments in strategies, goals, and methods of collaborations is a must. And because having a rigid partnerships may result to struggle and they have a problem to stay relevant in this field, and it could also lead to ineffective ways in their partnership. So um, if if we continue to foster adaptability, schools and their partners can respond effectively to the challenges, embrace innovation, and ensure that their collaboration continues to to serve students, stakeholders, the teachers, the schools in the very best way that they can. And lastly is monitor and evaluate progress. So regular assessment of the partnership's impacts help helps identify areas for improvement. So monitoring progress allows schools and their partners to determine whether their collaboration is achieving its intended goals and identify areas for improvement. So, schools can use feedback surveys, performance reports, and case studies to measure the success and ensure the continuous growth between the school and its partners. So, by consistently monitoring and evaluating the progress, schools can make informed decisions, enhance collaboration efforts, and ensure the continuous growth and development in their partners and in the school. So, to conclude, by implementing these strategies, school can build strong and lasting linkages that enhance learning opportunities, improve resource sharing, and support the overall institutional development of both the school and the partner. So, to continue my report, I will now give the floor to the next reporter. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the last subtopic under 21st Century Challenge to the School Division Superintendency, we have the driving performance for integrity and service. So in the context of leadership and education, driving performance for integrity and service refers to fostering high standards of ethical behavior and a commitment to serving others to achieve excellence. In early childhood education, this means educators and leaders act with honesty, fairness, and transparency while prioritizing the well-being of children. This ensures that educational practices are both morally sound and service-oriented, which creates learning environments where trust, collaboration, and professionalism thrive. Now, this is important because integrity builds trust among educators, families, and children, which is essential for effective communication and collaboration. And service, this refers to the practices that teachers do that emphasizes putting the needs of children first, ensuring inclusive and supportive learning environments. So these two, integrity and service, are values that drive excellence in any field. In ECE, these two not only shape how educators and leaders perform their roles, but also influence the development of children who are at a critical stage of learning and growing. At this moment, let's unravel what is integrity in early childhood education. So by definition, integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles or moral uprightness. So, integrity in early childhood education means being honest, fair, respectful, and transparent in everything that we do. This is especially important because teachers are role models for young children. So, if we demonstrate integrity consistently as future early childhood education teachers, we can also instill such good values to our learners. So, in what way man we, as future early childhood education teachers, uphold integrity in our teaching practices? Example, honesty and transparency like during parent-teacher meeting. Diba makigtabi man ang teacher na sa parents sa iyang estudyante about sa progress sa bata in school. Sultian ang parents unsay mga achievements sa bata or unsay nabuhat nga bati or kung unsa ang mga kausaban sa eskwelahan or anything, i-inform man jud ang mga parents ana. So sa kana, that's being transparent and honest because teachers communicate or share information about children to their parents. So we also have role modeling. Kani very important jud kay ni as ECE teachers. Here, teachers demonstrate integrity by modeling positive behaviors such as kindness, honesty, and responsibility which children can emulate. Diba atong mga teachers dili gid ta makadungog nila nga mamalikas, dili jud ta makakita nila nga mga lockdown og mga estudyante bisag sawayunon kaayo ang mga bata.
Instead, i-encourage no na nila to do better or dili jud ta makita nila nga moapila ng sugal para sa ng swertres, loto or kanang sa cellphone loan kanang scatter. Dili jud kay role models biya ang mga teachers. How would they expect their learners to have such good values or manners or behaviors or attitudes when teachers themselves are not doing the same? So role modeling. And as future teachers, we should really be very careful with our actions around children. Kay dali kayo na sila makasunod. So, dapat lang jud nga as future teachers naata ng attitude or behavior sa mga role model. Like Ma'am Tiza. Nakoy kaila nga ga-look up jud siya ni Ma'am Tiza. Kay dedicated daw kaayo si Ma'am Tiza sa iyang quote-unquote mission. Yeah. And makita pud nako siya ba kung kaila nga she's doing her best gyud to follow the footsteps of Ma'am Tiza. So with that no, we can see nga role models have that effect or impact to the lives of those that surrounds them. And we as future teachers, this tells us that we should really stick to our values if we want to change the world through our learners. And lastly is the commitment to values. So integrity is a commitment to our values or principles in life, like upholding values or principles like fairness, inclusion, diversity, social injustice, etc. In ECE, this means creating an environment where every child, regardless of their background, identity, or abilities, feel valued and supported. We, as future educators, play a vital role in fostering equity. That's why we really need to stay committed to our principles or prinsipyo ba, as this would help us better support or help children develop positive attitudes towards diversity and learn to respect and appreciate others. So mura sad siya modeling positive behaviors, like for example imong prinsipyo baron as a teacher kay to treat everyone equally. So, which is, kuan man jud na siya, diba? Dapat, which is dapat jud, ano. But anyway, so if na kay bata nga na late og pass sa project without valid reason, or, yeah, you would still accept that project, but you will give deduction sa points para dili pud unfair sa mga on time ni pass. Dili kay dawato na nimo nga why deduction abi kay favorite na nimo nga bata. No. Or when talking about commitment, si Ma'am Lantaka jud ako muna naan, because throughout the years of being under her for several subjects, she really exudes that strong commitment to her values and beliefs, which really reflects on the way she handles the class. And so integrity in ECE matters because children learn by observing. So teachers who model honesty, fairness, and respect help shape their moral foundation. We must remember that as future early childhood education teachers, by consistently upholding these values, we, future ECE teachers, become not just educators but ethical guides for our students' lifelong development.
Good day, everyone. My name is Mary Excelentiano, and today I will be continuing the discussion about driving performance for integrity and service. Now, let's get to know what is service-oriented leadership. Service-oriented leadership, it prioritizes the growth, well-being, and empowerment of employees, fostering a supportive environment where everyone can thrive. This kind of leadership is about putting others first, empowering others to grow, and nurturing a sense of trust and teamwork, at the same time modeling good ethical behavior for everyone. Now, there are three important factors we have to remember when we are going to apply service-oriented leadership. Now, what are these three factors? The first factor is transformational leadership. The second one is promoting teamwork. And lastly, the third one is advocating for equity. Now let's get to know more about what is a transformational leadership and why is it really important? Like why is it it is under service oriented leadership? Okay. Transformational leadership is a leadership style that focuses on inspiring and motivating individuals to achieve higher levels of performance and personal development. Leaders who embrace this style don't just manage day-to-day tasks. They foster a supportive and inspiring environment that encourages teachers and staff to grow professionally and personally. In turn, this kind of movement positively impacts the lives of the children in their care. Transformational leaders in early childhood education emphasize the importance of having the vision, the values, and the professional development. This means providing opportunities for teachers and staff to grow in their understanding of best practices, new research in child development, and the latest educational strategies. When educators are inspired and supported, they are more likely to create more engaging and nurturing environments for the children. This kind of leadership also emphasizes this sense of shared leadership, where every staff member is encouraged to take initiative and contribute to the development of the educational setting. In this way, transformational leadership supports a holistic approach to child development where the well-being of both children and educators is prioritized. Now let's head on to our next factor, which is promoting teamwork. Now, teamwork is at the heart of early childhood education. Why? Because it brings together teachers, staffs, and even families to create the best possible environment for children's growth. Like what the motto usually say, or the quote usually say, it takes a whole village to raise a child. So promoting teamwork isn't just about working together, it's about creating a shared sense of purpose. One concrete example is through regular collaborative planning sessions. Like preschool teachers might meet once a week to plan activities that will help kids develop their social or language skills. In these meetings, each teachers can share their ideas on how they are handling their classroom or what ideas or new ideas they want to try together or experiment. A director or team leader can facilitate these discussions and explore challenges in the classrooms or ways to better meet the children's needs. For example, if a particular child is having difficulty adjusting to group activities, teachers can brainstorm solutions and share strategies that has been effective to them and share it to their other co-teachers as well. Now, this approach not only strengthens the team, but it also ensures that children's needs are met in a holistic way. It creates a sense of unity where each teacher feels supported and valued, and the children get a more well-rounded experience as a result. Another example is creating a buddy system for new staff members. For instance, a new teacher might be paired with a more experienced colleague who helps them navigate daily routines, classroom management, and understanding the unique needs of the children in their care. This kind of idea or mindset is actually more on seen in Lev Vygotsky's theory, which is scaffolding, right? So, yeah. So to develop teamwork, there's also a need for scaffolding, especially to those teachers who are still new in this endeavor. This mentorship approach promotes teamwork by fostering a strong relationship and helping new staff feel more confident and connected to the team. Now, promoting teamwork does not only mean it's about creating teamwork within the educators, but it also means extending this kind of teamwork to the families, encouraging family involvement through regular communication, parent-teacher meetings, and even family events creates a sense of partnership in supporting the child's development. For example, a preschool might host a family reading night where teachers, children, and parents all participate in reading activities together. This strengthens the relationship between the early childhood setting and the families and help promote a unified approach to the child's learning and development. Now let's head on to our third factor, which is advocating for equity. Now, advocating for equity means ensuring that every child, regardless of their background or circumstances, has access to the resources, opportunities, and support they need to succeed. It's a mindset that shapes the environment, the interactions, and the curriculum, ensuring that all children have the same opportunities to thrive. A way to advocate for equity is by creating a culturally inclusive curriculum. Now, how do we do this? Well, we can ensure that the materials, books, and activities used in the classroom reflects the diversity of the children's backgrounds. Like, for example, a preschool teacher might choose books that feature characters from various cultural, ethnic, and socioeconomic backgrounds. This helps children see themselves reflected in the learning materials and also promotes understanding and appreciation of others. Why do we do this? We do this because if the children see this kind of learning materials, the children is able to see the diversity being celebrated in the classroom. And by doing so, it fosters a sense of belonging for everyone regardless of their background. Another important step in advocating for equity is providing individualized support for children. Now, how do we do this? For example, if a child has difficulty with speech, the teacher might work closely with speech therapists and offer personalized activities to support the child's growth. By addressing each child's unique needs, educators ensure that every child has a fair chance to reach their full potential. Now, advocating for equity also involves fair treatment for all children in the classrooms. It's not just about diversity, it's not just about addressing their needs, but it's also about giving them fair treatment. This includes ensuring that disciplinary practices are fair and don't disproportionately affect certain groups of children. For instance, instead of punishing a child for misbehavior, a teacher might have a one-on-one conversation with the child to understand why the behavior has occurred, and they can work together on creating strategies to improve or address this kind of behavior. This approach not only helps children feel valued, but it also ensures they are treated with respect and dignity no matter what their background is. Lastly, advocating for equity involves engaging with families in the broader community. Early childhood educators can work with parents to better understand their needs and provide resources that help them engage in their children's learning. Now, because we have already discussed about the three factors, let's head on to another topic. Let's head on to another topic, which is creating a culture of integrity. Now, what is this all about? Creating a culture of integrity is all about number one, infusing integrity into the classroom culture. Number two, modeling positive behavior. And number three, it is all about ethical practices. Now let's dive into the first one. Oh wait, let's go back. Okay, now let's dive into the first one, infusing integrity into classroom culture. Now, what does this mean? Infusing integrity into the classroom culture is about fostering an environment where honesty, responsibility, and respect are valued and practiced daily. In early childhood education, integrity goes beyond just teaching children what is right and wrong. So it's not just about the concepts, Jude. It's about modeling these values in every interaction, creating a space where children can learn through example, and empowering them to act with honesty and fairness in their own lives. So what way can we? So what kind of way can we use to infuse integrity into the classroom culture? We can use modeling, or yeah, we can use modeling. We can model honest behavior so that integrity is infused into the classroom. Why do we use modeling, DI? We use modeling because young children are keen observers and often mimic what they see. For example, if a teacher makes a mistake, they can acknowledge it openly and model how to correct it. This simple act shows children that it's okay to admit mistakes, and it helps them understand that integrity means being honest even if it's difficult, because being honest really is difficult. So as teachers, we have to be an example a judge for the children. For instance, if a teacher accidentally forgets to return a child's favorite toy, admitting the mistake and making an effort to correct it teaches the child that honesty and responsibility are important. Another key way to incorporate integrity is through consistent, fair rules and expectations. Integrity in the classroom involves creating an environment where children feel that the rules apply to everyone equally without favoritism. So these are one of the common issues we usually get to see in a classroom, Jude, favoritism. So it's not when a teacher applies favoritism, there's a tendency that the classroom culture or even the students would feel so bad. Like it's not a good feeling, Good, if you would make your students feel like you have a favorite student. So as teachers, we must see to it that when we are handling our class, we show them all genuine appreciation, concern, and fairness as well. So, for example, if a rule is set about sharing toys or taking turns, it's crucial that the teacher consistently enforce this rule with all children, regardless of their behavior or background. This consistency not this consistency not only builds trust, but also teaches children that fairness and respect for others are fundamental to living with integrity. When children see that their teacher treats everyone fairly, they are more likely to adopt those same behaviors themselves. So that's the magic of modeling. Because yeah, we are a good example here. We are, I mean, uh, we as teachers is a great power here. We teachers have a great power to influence the child because usually throughout the whole day when they are in our class, kita ang perminti nila makita. So we have to model good behavior here. And by doing so, we infuse po natin integrity. Inside that behavior, there must be integrity as well. So, infusing integrity into the classroom culture involves teaching children about the importance of honesty in relationships. Young children are learning how to interact with others, and it's essential that they understand the role of integrity in building trust and positive relationships. We as teachers can guide children to understand why it's important to tell the truth, share honestly, and apologize when they hurt someone's feelings. Now, creating a classroom culture of integrity means recognizing and celebrating moments when children demonstrate these values. So it's not just enough to model integrity into the classroom, but as teachers, we must also provide reinforcement as well, positive reinforcement to the child. So positive reinforcement is a powerful tool in early childhood education, and acknowledging when a children acts with honesty, fairness, or responsibility helps reinforce this behavior. Now let's proceed to the next one, which is modeling positive behaviors, which is just connected to the first topic we had. So in early childhood education, modeling positive behavior is one of the most powerful ways teachers can influence children's development, as what I've said earlier. Young children are constantly observing their surroundings and learning from the adults around them. Therefore, when teachers consistently demonstrate positive behaviors like kindness, patience, respect, and responsibility, they provide children with a clear everyday example of how to behave and interact with others. For instance, a teacher can demonstrate respect by listening attentively when a child speaks, while other ways could also be using polite language such as please and thank you, and treating every child with fairness. When children see their teacher treating others with kindness and respect, they learn to value these behaviors themselves. A practical example could be when a teacher greets each child by their names in the morning or offers assistance when a child is struggling with a task. These small, everyday actions show children the importance of treating others with empathy and consideration. Now let's remember that modeling positive behavior encourages collaboration and teamwork among the children. Teachers can promote these values by actively participating in group activities and guiding children to work together, share, and solve problems as a team. So let's proceed to the third topic, which is the ethical practices. So ethical practices in early childhood education are fundamental to creating a safe, respectful, and supportive environment for both children and educators. Why is it important to have ethical practices? These practices guide the way teachers interact with children, families, colleagues, and the community. Ethical behavior ensures that educators act with integrity, fairness, and responsibility, providing all children with an equal opportunity to thrive in a nurturing and exclusive environment. One of the core ethical practices in early childhood education is maintaining confidentiality. Educators often have access to sensitive information about children and their families, including developmental needs, health histories, and family situations. So if you're familiar with the doctors and the nurses or any individuals who are working in the medical field, you will know that they really value confidentiality as well because personal information, is something you do not share just easily. So for us teachers, we must also know how to act professionally and maintain this sense of anonymously if we are handling our uh, our our students' information. So the information should not be leaked that easily, Jude. So educators, uh, for educators, it is crucial that teachers respect this privacy and only share information on a need to know basis. So we can only share this kind of information when the child is already at stake, when we are performing something to the best interest of the child. So there are a lot of things we have to consider if we are going to give away certain informations about the child. So, by adhering to confidentiality, educators build trust with families and create a safe space for children to grow. Another key ethical practice is promoting fairness and equity in the classroom. So we've discussed this earlier, but okay, let's just get to know it again. Every child deserves the same opportunities to succeed. Teachers must be mindful of their biases and strive to provide an environment where all children feel valued. For instance, teachers should offer resources and activities that reflect diverse cultures, experiences, and abilities. So, differentiated learning data. Similarly, when addressing behavioral issues, teachers must avoid favoritism and treat each child with equal respect and understanding. This ethical practice helps children learn the importance of fairness and equality from a young age. Ethical practices also involves maintaining professional boundaries and avoiding conflicts of interest. Teachers should always behave in a manner that maintains the integrity of the profession. For example, teachers must avoid any behavior that could be perceived as inappropriate or biased, such as forming overly close relationships with certain families or sharing personal opinions that may influence their professional judgments. Additionally, teachers should be careful when making recommendations for services or products to families. So by this, as teachers, we cannot just say, I recommend doing this and that, or I recommend using this product and this because it's really good. So we should not do that because as teachers, although we do not quite admit it, but we have a certain power or influence not only to the child but also to the family as well because we are considered as the second parents naman baya. So it's important that we should be careful on what comes out of our mouth and what we show. It's because we are quite influential and we play a certain important role, not just only for the child, but also between the family. So, bridge manta for the child and the family. So, we have to be careful, Jude, of our important role. So, let's not do that. Keeping professional boundaries helps maintain trust between educators and families, ensuring that decisions are made based on ethical considerations rather than external pressures. Moreover, ethical practices requires that educators demonstrate honesty and transparency in all aspects of their work. This includes being honest with children, families, and colleagues. So, for example, if a teacher realizes that they made a mistake in a lesson plan, acknowledging that mistake and working to correct it shows the children the value of taking responsibility for one's actions. Similarly, when communicating with parents, educators should be open about both the challenges and successes children experience in the classroom. This level of transparency helps create an open dialogue that fosters collaboration and ensures that children's needs are being met. So ethical practices in early childhood education involve advocating for the well-being of children. So teachers must ensure that every child's physical, emotional, and educational needs are met. And at the same time, teachers must also be vigilant in providing a learning environment that promotes the social, emotional, and cognitive development of all children. Now let's proceed to our next topic. What are its wait, okay. Now, what are its implications in the early childhood setting? So, if we are going to practice integrity and service, so what are its implications in the early childhood setting? Number one, first, improved relationships. Strong positive relationships between educators and children are foundational in early childhood education. These relationships help children feel secure, valued, and supported, which is crucial for their emotional and cognitive development. So positive relationships promote a sense of belonging and trust, making children more open to learning and socializing with peers, which sets the foundation for academic and personal growth. Number two, enhance learning outcomes. When early childhood educators build strong relationships and establish a positive supportive environment, children are more likely to achieve a better learning outcomes. A positive environment encourages exploration, curiosity, and engagement, all of which are key to developing foundational academic skills. So, a supportive classroom atmosphere enhances children's motivation to learn, laying the groundwork for future academic success. Now, the third one is development of social skills. Early childhood is a crucial period for developing social skills, including sharing, cooperation, conflict resolution, and empathy. Educators can intentionally teach and model these skills to help children build strong social foundations. For instance, during group playtime, a teacher might guide children in negotiating who will play with which toys or help them resolve conflicts to express their feelings and listen to others. Through guided social interactions, children develop essential skills like communication, empathy, and problem solving, which are vital for forming healthy relationships and succeeding in both school and life. So, in conclusion, improving relationships, enhancing learning outcomes, and developing social skills are interconnected aspects of early childhood education. Positive relationships foster a learning environment where children feel safe and confident, leading to better learning outcomes and the development of critical social skills for life. So, these are the implications, and this is why it's really important if we practice integrity and service when we perform our part as educators in the future. So overall, integrity and service are not just values, they are powerful drivers of performance. When we act with integrity, we build trust and credibility, creating an environment where people feel valued and respected. This trust, in turn, inspires commitment and motivates individuals to do their best. Service, whether to others or our community, fosters a sense of purpose and connection, encouraging collaboration and collective process and success. By embracing these principles, we create a culture that empowers people to perform at their highest level, not only for themselves, but for the greater good of everyone around them. So integrity and service truly are the foundations of lasting success and exceptional performance. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something from our discussion. Thank you. Goodbye.